Welcome to episode 11 of New Tech People. Today we have David Boyd, CTO at Mudbath. Welcome.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Thanks, mate. Mate, CTO at Mudbath, that's a nice title.
It is.
How do we get to that? Give us a quick background on who you are.
Yeah.
What's your little journey to date? How did we get to CTO at Mudbath?
Sure. So I'm a Newcastle boy, born and bred. So I went through University of Newcastle, comp sci, and as most Novacashans did the classic thing of packing up my bags and moving down to Sydney. So I went to IBM for a few years and did the consulting thing for a while and kind of got a little bit sick of Sydney and packed up my bag and again did another cliched thing of moving to London. So over there worked in digital product for a while, did some agency work, did some startup-y stuff, and then landed back here about 5 years ago. Started a startup, and that was typical startup experience, semi-successful, and then a bit of failure on the side. Also started a software company or software arm of an education company. Did that for a few years and then landed with Mudbath.
Nice. It's a varied journey.
Varied journey, different industries, different types of large and small corporates and a bit of everything in between.
Yeah, mate, I think it's a pretty common experience to do the Newcastle University thing and then get out, get some experience and then come back. Mate, what's your take on sort of what value did that offer for you? I guess fresh insights.
University in particular? Yeah. So it's interesting, and I didn't notice it at the time, but I noticed uni, it's versus sort of either directly going out of school and being a programmer or even the courses you pick at university. So particularly with comp sci, it was super technical. There was a good level of deep understanding, critical thinking, looking at algorithms, real sort of actual problems that you want to solve on a large scale system. So it's that sort of 3 years of just learning how to be and think software versus, that is a really good foundation for whatever it is. I don't think uni makes you job ready. As anyone that goes to uni finds out, you land in a job and you're like, I don't know how to code this or I don't know how to, work in this sort of system, but it gives you that base foundation you still use today. And the Newcastle uni was I hadn't checked in recently on it, but when I went through with comp sci, it was brilliant. It was really good. I had a good mix of technical and also sort of, I guess, businessy stuff, but at least some element of I can program in languages that I'm actually going to use, which is not always the case at a university.
You're not wrong, mate. And then you went down big business and small business, like startups. So let's go big business first. Working at IBM, that would have given you a different perspective on things, I imagine.
Yeah, it's it was funny when I was going down because I pretty much went as a grad and I had one company in my mind. I want to work for IBM. I want to be a consultant. I was going through the grad program and I was talking to the guys. They're like, so what other companies are you applying for? I'm like, none. I'm working here. This is where I'm going to be. So I was I had a friend that had worked there and I'm like, I want to be, put my blue badge on and I want to be an IBMer. And it's really large corporates really drive you down what it is to be professional, which a lot of people don't tend to get, especially as a programmer. So while I was consulting and predominantly it was going out and building products and large scale products. So it's products that you just don't get an opportunity to build here. So, or build locally, traditionally. So, my first project was rebuilding the Department of Immigration visa system. So, it's massive, it's years, it's hundreds of developers. It's just at a scale that's that next level, which is a whole different kettle of fish to, especially when I left Newcastle, what was around at the time.
I imagine that would have set you up really solid frameworks as well, as in, especially to go to startup environment, which we'll talk about in a second, but that you've got that experience of really solid frameworks and processes and procedures in place at a place like IBM, right?
It is. It's the double-edged sword of the large corporate. So the large corporate teaches you a lot of things, they have all of that, right? There's no shortage of process. Here's the 20-page document to get your promotion, fill that out and tell us why, sort of thing. But at the same time, here's how we run a project, and then we have a successful formula, and we've been doing this for a very long time. So there's an element of that. And the great thing about those kind of organizations is there's no, you need help, here's the army of people behind you. You want the person who developed this, we'll call them up and bring him over from the US because we just have that sort of, that's way. The side of that is the problem of there's so much process, you can't, like, it's very difficult to get some things done. So not as agile as a small company, not as nimble. This is the way we do it. This is, to the point when I was going through, they had a big push on using offshore development. So every project had to use offshore development. Whether it made sense or not at the time, it's like, no, this is the element of it. So it's just, that's the mandate. We do this, we work with that. So it's like, it can be good and bad.
Yeah, double-edged sword. Now let's flip it to go to the startup environment, right? Startup environments, they can be varied again. Mm-hmm. You can get startups that have been started by people with really strong processes and procedure background, and they start up with they're really solid from the start, and then others that are, let's call them cowboys.
Yeah, totally.
Things need to be rewritten down the track, and there's no documentation, and
totally.
That's it. But there's that added advantage of being able to move quickly and get stuff done ASAP. And do you think the IBM experience set you up better for startup world?
It did, particularly in the startup that I was doing, because we were trying to pitch corporate. So we were an e-com platform or e-com plugin into it. So, our clients were trying to be the Rebels of the world. So Rebel Sports of the world. So It didn't make sense to go in there and not be able to talk at like, hey, we built large systems before. We understand the integration. Yeah. If I was just a uni student that never had done anything, I doubt we would have got through the door. So from that perspective, in terms of like process of how you build out, I kind of knew the pipeline of what we wanted to do. But there was a lot of reason why I got into startups was after, what a lot of people do, jump on the lean startup movement, and reading the books and going through that sort of idea. I'm like, this is what I hate about IBM, is that we don't do these sorts of things. So it was, in essence, it was the driver of what was, because IBM was very waterfall when I was there. So it was the driver of building products that actually had product market fit, that actually made sense, that weren't just, there was a number of projects that I built that at the end of we released it, and the client wasn't happy, we weren't happy, we hit the requirements, but I'm like, that's not how we should build software. Yeah. Which is also probably an indication as to why that kind of consulting struggles so much now. It just, nobody's happy at the end of it, and it costs a lot of money, and it just doesn't make sense. So the startup methodology going back into corporate it's evident that that's there now as well.
Yeah, and that is pushing, that agile framework with your more corporates, and then all versions of agile,
totally,
and bastardized versions of this, that, and the other, and
absolutely
everything in between. So there's not too many true agile environments that I've come across.
No, I remember as I was leading IBM, they were doing agile in waterfall model. That was their thing. It was the agile with structure or something they called it. And I'm like, okay, you're basically doing your old model, but you're calling it agile. So. Yeah. But it didn't make sense, what they were doing. So.
And hey, pure agile doesn't work for everyone, right? Like it's a fit for purpose type model, I think.
Oh, absolutely. And after working in a number of companies, and you see everyone trying to do their own variation, and I think anyone that sort of reads a book and says this is the way it's going to work is a little naive. You take the concepts, you take what you want, and take the core values, and I think that's pretty important. And then you make it fit for your organization, and you move towards the pathway of what that looks like. But this sort of idea of here's the Bible of agile, and if we're not conforming to this, our projects won't work. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, I completely agree. What would you say out of the whole startup? How long was the startup journey for you?
So I was kind of into startups a little bit in London, but wasn't officially. So I went through the Slingshot accelerators. So I was sort of in that first intake and sort of joined midway through with another organization that sort of kicked off. We were serious about it for probably about 6 months. Probably had another couple months on the other side that we were semi into it. Classic startup. We had a set amount of money. There was 3 of us. We were doing it on our time off. Classic sort of problems of trying to contract work at the same time to live while also doing a startup, having your feet in one or the other. When one doesn't work, whether you actually have the drive to get up and keep going through it. Yeah. So, it's that solid sort of initial phase. Especially, we were very much trying to we had a lot of positive feedback initially, and we took some good advice and we took some bad advice, and then ultimately knew what we had to do, knew we had to get one big client, and kind of close to getting there, but we just didn't quite get there. And once we did, it was, everyone kind of ran out of time and money, which is really the killer of all startups.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Mm-hmm. And then your ambition goes along with that, right? It's that grind. You can only grind for so long without getting a little bit of success.
Absolutely. And you just it's like a true entrepreneur. And I was lucky I was with really good entrepreneurs. You're so naive. Like you have to be naive. You have to be like, this is going to work and there's no doubt about it. Because as soon as you get doubt, it's so much easier to just go, well, I'll just go to work, or I'll just go, especially if you're doing something else. If you're fully into it, you're fully committed and you have no other option, those are the entrepreneurs that make it work. Because at the end of the day, what the idea you start with and the idea you end with, totally different. Like they always end up being, and you have to keep going with it.
Yeah.
And just keep,
And the idea you end with might not be the thing you're overly passionate about and what got you into it to start with, right? So
totally.
That's a hard journey.
Oh, totally. Yeah. If I'm going to revolutionize the world and find out that you end up building some little analytic tool and that's your thing. But hey, it's like you got to go in there with the right reasons. Like, why are you trying to do this? And we were very much, we want to build a business.
Yeah.
So there was never any doubt about what that business needed to be. Will ultimately need to be a business. So it wasn't just a cool app idea or something like that. It was actually we need to make sales. We need to find that product market fit. So it makes it a lot easier when you're trying to do that, because like, well, if we're not doing that, okay, let's pivot here, because it's not working.
Yeah, and I imagine obviously coming from a technical background yourself made it easier from that perspective, is being able to build it yourself.
Yeah, but that's also the problem with startups, right? As a tech person, you need somebody who's basically who stops you. Get out which is if you've ever read the sort of lean startup methodology and all those sort of books, it's the get out of the building. As developers, we inherently are so like. It's so much easier to go sit in the corner, build something cool, and say, "Yeah, they'll come." They'll just throw it out there, and everyone will come, and that will be perfect. That's not how products work.
Yeah.
Especially in like that extreme uncertainty of the startup world, where you don't know. Like you think you have a problem that you're trying to solve, but you don't actually know if that problem really exists. And just because it's your problem doesn't mean anyone else has that problem as well, which is all pretty standard stuff. But it's really hard to run that journey because it's so much easier to say, well, I'll just build this out. But if it's like, it's going back to that, is there a test that I can get out there that's like the cheapest version? So like actually not having the capability to build it, or if there was like, it costs you money, I think you end up with a better product because you have a less tendency to go out and actually build it straight away.
Yeah. And go super deep without that really
absolutely
lean approach. Yeah. Mate, it's an interesting journey. I think it probably sets you up extremely well from obviously being big corporate, small startup, and you've found your way to agency world.
Mm-hmm.
How did the agency world come about?
So I had worked previously in agency overseas. So I'd worked for Razorfish.
Yeah.
So I wasn't too unfamiliar with that. And then IBM consulting, it's similar sorts of things. So I actually knew about Mudbath when I was first starting. So Josh, who the CEO who started it, came from Sydney, and I worked with a few of his former colleagues. So I knew of the birth of the agency, but I was doing my own stuff at the time, and then really only started to check back in the last sort of 6 months and really saw where it was and what we had got to, which was quite phenomenal since it's only really been 4 years that the agency sort of had existed. So while it's a bit of a step back into the client work, where I had predominantly been doing products for a long time, or more of a internal sort of products, I guess my background is in that, so it's nice to get back into that as well. It's fun to build large systems when you're thinking about the problem or thinking about the startup world of here's my product, here I'm going to sell, versus actually having we use a lot of the same methodology at Mudbath as you do in the startup world, really focused on building an MVP, really focused on only sort of getting something out to market quickly, which you have to do in the digital space. It's too easy just to say, tell me your brief, I'll build it for you, and we walk away. But that's the same problem as the IBM world. It's just we don't build a product that everyone's happy with. So it's very much let's scope it down, let's get something out to market, let's learn off it and grow off it. So that's really a Mudbath philosophy. So it's not too dissimilar from where my headspace was already at.
Yeah, nice. Well, I guess there's all the tools out there these days that you can create an MVP, do some testing, get some data around that, find out what's working, what's not, and then go from there, right? If you're not doing it that way, it sort of sets you up for failure, right?
Absolutely. You need to get something out to market quickly, and you need to get something in the hands of customers, because it's the same problem. It's the same problem for no matter what software you're building, whether you're building it for somebody else or whether you're an agency building for a client. It's at the end of the day, that's a product that they're ultimately consumers are going to use. So if you're not talking to their clients or their customers, then why are you building it? Like,
and let's hope that you're building something they're going to use, right?
Absolutely.
And if you don't do that testing, you don't get something out there, you could be building something for the sake of it, and
absolutely,
and you're back to square one again.
Absolutely, it's the same problem.
Oh, mate, it's an interesting journey. I think obviously to get to where you are. Where do you see the growth in your role in particular?
In my role, so our agency is growing quite a lot. So I think there's a lot of room to move. Like, we're at that sort of 30, 35 mark, which is reasonably quickly growth for where we've been. I don't think we're going to slow down anytime soon. So not only is it driving technical decisions and driving the company technically, it's also, larger teams and sort of managing those larger teams as well. So there's an element of two sides to my role that kind of, there's a lot of, learnings that I do every day, and never rest on what you know, and you try to keep improving no matter what you're doing. So as an agency, we have no doubt rooms to grow, and bigger clients and different kinds of products and services that we offer. And then internally, there's elements of both people management and also where technology is going.
Awesome, mate. That's a really, really key point. So there was a couple of discussions I was having the week at DevOps Days was a couple of people around that step from technical leader or technical expert to people manager. So I don't think it's for everyone. My gut feel is some people are gifted to be technically strong and can grow their careers staying technically strong, and they can continue to grow. I think there's more opportunities for those people to continue to grow and become absolute technical experts. Maybe that wasn't an opportunity back in the days, but I think there is becoming more opportunities for those people. And then the other route to growth is to start becoming a people manager, which not all people, particularly technology people, are made to be. What's been your experience so far? Would you recommend it to others?
It's like I still find it funny. I mean, when I was a grad, I thought the same thing, right? You just assume what is your career path. You assume that eventually you become management and whatever that looks like in whatever organization. And you're absolutely right. Just because you're good technically doesn't mean you're a good manager. I do think you have to have an element of technical expertise to manage technical people. Not knowing how your people do what they do is, seen plenty of bad managers who don't get their people. And then I've just seen plenty of bad managers generally. So I think the first thing is, as a manager, you have to like dealing with people. You have to care about them. You have to care about their growth and see what their path like, and not, a lot of managers tend to make the mistake of trying to create more of them, and that's not a healthy company. That's not a healthy team. You want diversity. You want interesting perspectives. You want to learn off your people in your team as well. Like, you can't assume that you know everything, or you can have this style and that works, and not willing to change that as well. And I also very much think if you want to be a tech specialist and you don't want to manage people, that doesn't limit you to what your career growth should be 100%. If you just want to be the best coder there is, be the best coder there is. And there's plenty of opportunity. And companies get that now, probably 10, 15 years ago, maybe not so much.
I agree. I think 10, 15 years ago, even more recently, I think you had to have people under you to be considered a manager or somebody that's worth paying more money.
Absolutely. Yeah, we see that different now. Like, when I was at IBM, it was very much that. But it was like, here's your career path. They map it out for you. You get to the architect level. Here's the people you're going to manage below it. But they don't work like that anymore. The other agencies or even big startups, it's like, no, you just want to be really good technically. Okay, well, here's your architecture path. So maybe you end up being more high level. Maybe you do think about the big picture as well. But at the same time, plenty of good technical leads are on the tools every day, driving their team. It really depends, and I don't see it as one or the other.
Yeah, so you went from technical to a people manager. Is there any books you read, any education or anything, any courses you took, or any key piece of learning you think? I'm not saying, it's obviously a journey and you're probably not perfect there, but like what's that journey look like? Any learnings?
Yeah, heaps of learnings, and I'm still not convinced that I'm a great manager of people. Ask my team whether I'm good or bad; they'll be able to tell you. So there's a couple of things that I've learned. One, I have often learnt by seeing bad managers do, bad things and saying, I don't want to be that person.
Yeah.
And on the flip side, having good mentors and good managers, that is key. I mean, that's key no matter what you do in your career, but especially in the management space, just how people, hold themselves, how they interact with people and what that looks like. From a pure, here's the tools on it. There's a really good podcast called Manager Tools. And they take you really practical things and things that people still don't do, the idea of having one-on-ones, forming relationships with your people. It's just like everyday things that are really common sense, but a lot of people don't think about the fact that I'm managing people, and people, everyone's an individual, and you need to understand them if you want to help them. Because at the end of the day, the way I see it as a manager's responsibility is you need to make your job is to make everyone else's job easier, not harder. So if you're not doing that, that's that's the test. So these kind of tools just really give you the information around that. So Manager Tools podcast for sure.
Cool. Anything else outside that?
The only other one is really then just, I've always found good mentors to sort of, at that next level, beyond me. So, and work out what they're doing well. So speaking into things like leadership and those sorts of things, it's very much what's the leader that I like to follow, and having that relationship with someone else. So you can sit there and say, hey, these are the things that I'm doing well. I think these are the things I'm doing wrong, and they can pick it apart pretty quickly. People that have been and gone through that will quickly say, oh, well, this is your leadership style. This is why it works. This is where it doesn't work. This is what you need to do. So learning directly from them, as opposed to, there's plenty of blogs, there's plenty of articles around being good leaders and those sorts of things. I always found that relationship side of stuff a little bit easier. So my biggest advice to anyone managing any people is go find someone that you think is doing this well, ideally that has done it for a little while, and have a chat to them. Say, this is what I'm doing, this is not working, because you'll know what's not working, you'll know what you want to improve, and they usually can pick it apart pretty quickly.
Yeah, I agree, mate. And once again, it differentiates when you're dealing with people, right? You're dealing with individuals, and everyone wants to be managed differently, or needs to be managed differently, and being able to figure that out. There is no one book, I think. There's key principles, I think, and if you can follow those principles, probably put you on the right path. But it's just using a little bit of intuition and figuring out about those relationships. Who is this person? What do they need from me?
Totally, absolutely. At the end of it, that's if you get that as a baseline, you're doing better than most managers out there.
I agree. Mate, how have you found that people management side of your role now versus technical? Have you found, hey, I've still got a key desire to be on the tools or to be in the product? Or
totally. I like to code every day if I can, or when I can. I don't as much as I want to by any stretch. My role is still very much split between two. Predominantly my role is architecture. So I'm very much thinking about design, doing that kind of stuff. And then there's an element of obviously managing a dev team out of that, and different levels of complexity. I like both. They're both challenging. They both wake up in the day, you don't know really what you're going to expect. So you're thinking through problems. It's the same sort of thing. So I don't sort of see one or the other. I always like dealing with people and talking to people. So it's not really a stretch too far to sort of Whereas I totally get some people I just don't want to do this.
Mate, the fact that you said you like people, it's probably going to take you a long way there, because there are some people that genuinely, hey, I'd rather talk to my keyboard than talk to another.
And developers, we're the worst. We're the stereotypical sit in a room, headphones on, don't want to talk to anyone. I was definitely used to be that person, quite happily to play in the tech. The biggest thing I ever learnt to do was to get out and actually, it was where IBM or anyone in general, and what my biggest encouragement to anyone doing tech is, getting out there and networking, talking to people, talking to clients. That's the key skill. You have to do that at some level, whether you love it or not. Getting better at that doesn't hurt. At the end of the day, you have to talk to people. So no matter how good you are as a developer, there's always going to be that element.
Okay, I reckon that is a massive point, and I couldn't agree more. So you've obviously done a pretty good job of that. How would you go, or what advice would you provide to others to begin networking or begin having those conversations? there's a lot of people I think are in positions who are growing, they're technically strong, want to grow further. How would you go about advising someone to start building a network or having conversations with clients?
Totally. First thing, and like it's starting in Newcastle now, which is great. There's options. Get out to your meetups. Yeah. Like go and talk to other technical people. Like we have like the new Slack channel. There's like a good developer community. Like it's crazy to think that not everyone goes there. And I appreciate everyone has, it's a time commitment and it's an effort to sometimes to get there. But the first thing like I learned very early on is a lot of your worth is in your network, the people you can draw on. If you have that technique, and it works from no matter what part of the, wherever you are in your career journey, because if you just have that technical question and there's no one at your company that knows how to do it, you probably met somebody who actually knows that kind of stuff, where you can draw on them and ask them, and similarly vice versa, let alone talking to clients. So not only talking internally in your dev teams and talking to other peers that you do know, but get out and meet some other developers and get challenged by what they're doing and learn about other cool tech that they're doing and get some inspiration. I would start then. That's like the easy place to start. And then it's a natural progression. Go and present at a meetup. The meetups here are pretty friendly, but it's a good place to learn how to actually get up and talk to somebody. And everyone's scared of public speaking. No one wants to do it, but that's what I try and encourage my team to do all the time is like, let's go out and have a chat, because it's not about like what you present. It's about you learning to get up and have a go at that. And there's no safer environment than doing it in sort of a meetup environment where it's, peers and colleagues and they have all been there and they all know, versus going and then trying to do it to a client where you've never had that experience. It's also courses like, through IBM, the best learning I ever did was in the soft skills stuff. So, we got trained on presentation skills by actors and all sorts of funny things like that. So similarly, that if you wanted to be a better public speaker, go do your, I can't remember what's Toastmasters, go do your Toastmasters. But like, it's always terrifying to do this stuff when you're not used to it, especially from a developer. I totally get that. But sometimes you just have to take that leap of faith, and it's never as bad as what you think. Yeah. Like it's never like you learn so much and you don't appreciate how much you actually learn by doing these sorts of things.
Yeah, well, I think key piece of advice there, you can start behind the keyboard networking on the new Slack channel. So there's a good starting point. You don't even have to talk to somebody. You can do it on a keyboard. And probably we'll be talking in JS Meetup and Newcastle Coders Group. That would be the two you'd recommend to start with.
There's two, they're two good to start with. There's half a dozen others that are also good to float around. Find something that you want to go to. Find something that is interests you. Find a talk that you actually want to go listen in on, and then just get out there and actually start meeting them. Start meeting everyone else.
And it's a lot easier, right, if it's something that actually interests you as well. You're not going to have to public speak about something you don't know.
Oh no,
and you can also go there and just listen for the first time. Listen to other people talk about something you might find interesting.
Oh, I mean, just on that alone, having other people talking about tech, like I get my inspiration from that all the time. Like someone's played with something interesting, and then I'm going to go and all of a sudden look into that, and it helps me in my day to day. Helps me, you can't know it all, and you can't be looking on tech blogs to know it all. It's learning off people that have done the hard yards. Sometimes is the best place to start.
Yeah, I think the Newcastle community that does foster that community aspect really well. I think people are very inclined to share if you ask.
Absolutely. I mean, ask someone about their job, they'll always happily talk about it, especially a developer, So, just ask the question.
Yeah, and then, once you've had that conversation, then ask them to come on your podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's all good, mate. You made mention there, I think, this consistent learning, this theme of consistent learning, whether it be at meetups or speaking. Are there any other, and you mentioned the word blogs just there, are there any other sources that you look to from an educational standpoint? Let's start informal, so podcasts, blogs, books.
There's a few. So I like the idea of so it's something I just started at Mudbath, but it's not a new idea anywhere. It's like this book club idea. Yeah. So, go and read a book with some friends and go back and discuss it. So we're working through Clean Code, plenty of good developer books out there, but it's not really the book that's as interesting as the discussion that goes afterwards. So I sort of find some friends, do it with them. So all those sort of design, from a developer point of view, fundamentally, I find that we don't spend enough time thinking about design patterns, clean code, how we approach code. After working on big projects, that's what bites you. So anything in that space as a developer, I don't think you can ever stop learning. Myself then is, getting up to date with what's latest and greatest. So, sitting on the Hacker Newses, sitting on the Reddit. So I find that somewhat interesting. And then there's a few podcasts, Hansel Minute, I think it's called, is the one I'm at the moment. And that's really just it's a Microsoft guy and talking to other developers. It kind of looks at their journey, similar, I guess, to this. But it's really fascinating, like the one I was listening to the other day was where the Microsoft CTO got, where he came from and how he's, it's just like he's a networking guy and he's like on the tech and he does his little side projects, and it's just really interesting to see like the journey of those people that you don't think about, like, they're running massive companies. Yeah. It's not too dissimilar to where a lot of us start.
Yeah, I think that one of the key reasons behind me starting this was I think you can learn a lot from other people's journeys, right? Mm-hmm. Both from their successes and their mistakes. Totally. How's somebody else gone about it? Where, if there's somebody in a place that you want to be, how have they gone about it? What have they done to get there? All that journey.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that's the greatest tip you can have. That's the biggest point and the biggest differentiator I've ever had is find a mentor or find someone. And if you can't find someone in real life, go and look at somebody else. Find someone you want to be like or has done a journey that you want to go down and start looking at what they did. It's always a good place to start.
Agreed. And when it goes to a bit more formal education, I'm not talking university, but talking about short courses, certs, things like that. Anything you found really beneficial? Anything that you'd recommend your staff to do? Or
yeah, so me and Mudbath were really into Pluralsight, so we sit on there quite regularly. There's a couple of specific similar sort of veins, like the Udemy courses and those sorts of things. Like if there's a tech that you want to learn, whatever. Say you're not particularly good at DevOps and you want to learn Kubernetes because everyone's talking about Kubernetes, then, within 4 hours, you're going to have the fundamentals, or at least understanding it to, decide whether it's a good decision. There's no reason, especially with these kinds of tools or these kind of technologies or anything, that you shouldn't at least be able to get to a level of a lot of things. And it's also how you learn. Like I like to learn by watching and hearing. So that kind of video content, short course, learn a concept, apply the concept. It's very up my alley. It's not everyone's. Reading a big tech book, not necessarily I can do it, but I like to actually jump on the tools and actually apply what I've learned. So for me, that's really good. But just knowing that it's there and jumping in. It's important to continue to keep doing those sorts of things. Otherwise, you get stale really quickly. Yeah,
I don't think information should be the barrier, right? Like, if anyone uses that as the excuse, it's probably a poor excuse. There's plenty of either free or very cheap information sources out there that you can upskill very quickly. And
I mean, like they said it when we finished uni. I totally agree. Like this degree is useless in 5 years' time. Yeah. Absolutely. Like if you're not constantly learning in tech, you very quickly get outdated and you very quickly get pigeonholed into what you can and can't do. So, information is not hard to find. It's making the time to actually learn it,
which is a challenge.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unless you make it a priority.
Yeah, you have to make it a priority. Like it's part of the job. Like you've got to learn.
Yeah, mate. You just made mention of it there, university. What's your quick take on your experience and your recommendation for others?
So university thumbs up. Yeah. It's the short version. I really like the idea, or what's missing I find with a lot of, especially like people that haven't gone through formal education, is the idea around like those fundamentals that uni teaches you, like take algorithm design, the mathematics behind it, the diversity that you actually do at university, those sorts of things you just need time to deep dive into. Like spending 6 months on on cryptographic sort of approaches. When else are you going to do that than at university? So it also teaches you to think, which it's a lot of cliche that university teaches you to think, but it actually does. And I definitely found the difference between different degrees out of university and the expectation on what that meant from how capable you were at your job. I don't think you have to go to university to do what I do. You can definitely learn it. It gives you that bit of a head start if you're not so heads down. Like I wasn't, super technical. I was playing around with tech, but would I have got as fast and learn as much? No, but I probably would have got there eventually. It's it opens the world to. Here's a world of computer science, and here's a world of problems, and here's a world of how you apply it. It's very cool to learn.
Nice. Now you've done the journey, Newcastle, Sydney, London, back to Newcastle. What's your take on the current tech scene in Newcastle?
Yeah, so I think, probably everyone says this, but I feel like I came back at the right time. So I've been back in Newcastle for 5 years, and in that 5 years, it's just gone crazy, absolutely crazy. I was doing co-working spaces, and there was one. Now there's many. The freelancer community was very small. Like the new Slack channel there was 3 people in a room that were doing it. Just you can see easily in the data on where the tech community has gone to, and then what companies are. The biggest difference I noticed in Newcastle now, obviously there's a big transition of Sydney people moving to Newcastle, period. That's obviously fed off into the tech community, but it's it's the tech meetups, it's the companies moving their company to Newcastle. That was unheard of. You never had people doing that. But when I left, because there was an interesting thing, so it's a much more interesting environment for anyone that's starting off. It's a much more interesting environment for anyone that wants to move back, because a lot of people left and went to work on interesting projects. And they're starting to realize, actually, there's interesting projects in Newcastle now. There's a startup community. There's big corporates that are doing really interesting things. It'd be interesting another 3-5 years down the track where we are, given the growth we've had now. I don't see it slowing down.
I don't see it slowing down either. I think we're starting all heading in the right direction. I think the continual growth will come through continual collaboration. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of smart people, a lot of smart companies, a lot of companies doing really strong things. I think if we can continue to collaborate, share what's going on locally, it'll sort of bring everyone up to another level. Oh,
absolutely. Yeah, it's, the value as a tech community is, our ability to share our knowledge. At the end of the day, that's what Sydney does really well. They share their knowledge. So if we want to compete, if we want to have agencies, if we want to have startups, then we need to be able to leverage off each other.
I completely agree. Anything else you'd like to share with the community? Anything else you'd like to share?
No, I mean, at the moment, I just say get out there. We have these things in place. Get involved in meetups, get involved in conferences, just, get plugged in, because the world is your oyster when you start to, of choice right now. And or if there's something that's missing, start it. All these things started because somebody's like, I really want this to exist. That's how we got to where we are, and we'll continue to go down that path. So, if you have an interest and it's not there, start something.
Nice. If people want to reach out, you're on LinkedIn.
I'm on LinkedIn.
Happy to have a chat with people.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, if you have tech questions or career advice, or if you're interested in building digital products, or just anything else, hit me up on LinkedIn.
Nice, man. Thank you for your time.
No worries. Thank you. Cheers.